As always, welcome to a nice talking technical. We are always excited to help you guys because we get emails during the week and then the guys will say, listen, Frans, but please discuss this. It is just nice to do that. And let's just have a look at the markets. If you look at the markets, I mean, we've seen a blood month or almost. And what I want to do is just maybe kick off with the overall index so that we can just see more or less where we are. The big thing, this is a monthly chart, of course. Remember, this is a candlestick chart. And we've pointed out this chart many a time. And the more I'm looking at this chart, the more I'm getting nervous. Because what I see here is that it looks like that the market definitely made it stop. That's now on the overall index. And if I look at this line, and this is the support line I would like to show you. This is the support line that kept the bull market going from September, well, you can almost say middle 2009, all the way up. And then it was tested a while back at around 56,700, and then it broke below that. But this was the important line. This is the line that worried me. This horizontal resistance line that kept the market going, but then it turned into a resistance on 54,922. Now we're around 52,000, let's call it 52,300 points. But what it tells me is while we consolidate below this line, that line there, we are unfortunately negative on the market. Because then what I say is, while we do that, it's possible that we will see the top, that the top will develop. And if you look at this market, I mean, it started off in 2009 at around, let's call it 20,000 points. It's now 52,000. There's still a lot of downside if things start to develop as it is developing now on this chart, because what you see is this candle is negative. That candle tells you that there's some sellers around. In actual fact, for the last 2 months, the market lost momentum from 59,000 to 52,000. That's about 7,000 points that the market lost in about 2 months. And while we're below this line, I know some guys are optimistic, and I hear that emerging markets is offering some value around here. Unfortunately, I will remain negative while this line, and that's that line that we'll watch while that is a resistance, because that just tells me that the big money is slowly but surely flowing out of the market, and they're going to other places. They may be going into interest rates, or they go wherever the investors want them to go. But the big thing is they don't want risk. This is what it tells you. If the market is below this line, investors are telling us, listen, we're scared about the risk in the market and we're nervous. But of course, as we know, as shares gets hammered in 2 months' time, usually there's a few shares that is always starting to, you can almost say, find its feet and try to work on from there and maybe give us a relief rally. And what's important here is that if you are in a market like we are now, where the market is below this resistance line, yes, you will get some opportunities. Yes, you can trade them. But remember, this has become now a stock picker's market. It's not just a case where you just buy the index and you say, don't worry, the index will do the thing for me. I just need to buy the index. This has gone now. This is a market where you need to pick your stocks. And the most important thing is, you'll see, I'll go through quite a few shares here that I made a list of. Those shares can maybe give us some beautiful opportunities. But remember always, in a stock picking market, first of all, if you are a trader, you don't need to be greedy. You must take your profit and go when it presents that. And if you're a medium to a long-term investor, the moment that share starts to bother you, you must be quite keen to just say, let's lock in that profit and go and look for something else. So it is a difficult market, but of course, as we know, there's always opportunities. The first one that I would like to discuss is Quilter. Now, this came now out of the old Mutual Unbundling. This is the asset management company in the UK. And I mean, this stock, since it was, you can almost say, since it was listed, it just saw one thing, and that was selling. I mean, from about 28 Rand 23, it went down all the way to 22 Rand 50. That's more than 20% down. I mean, it was just being hammered all the way. But what I see here is, first of all, let's see if the stock is overbought or oversold. And I just want to add it in here. And I will just get it in here. I just want to get there. There you are. I'm going to use the old stochastic indicator. I like that, especially to see if a stock is overbought, oversold. And look what we see here. we see an ugly oversold situation. In actual fact, it's oversold since about 24 Rand, and it's now around 22 Rand 90. But look at the stochastic, it's rock bottom. And I mean, we've seen now in the past, every time that Quilter is getting to these extreme oversold levels, you do find that the stochastic went up a little bit, and the shares also go up and follow that. Every time, you've seen it now with a couple of times, but first of all, you don't need to be, you can almost say anxious to buy. But what happens is, if I look at this chart, it is oversold, but I just want to look at the candles in almost a, you can say, a particular way. Look at all this selling, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 7 days of selling. And then you saw this candle here. Every dark cloud cover has a silver lining. Now there's the dark cloud. I mean, that's the bearish candle. It's been hammered in one day from 23.20 to about 22 Rand 50 in almost one go. But then the day before yesterday, we saw this candle here, and this is a beautiful every dark cloud as a silver lining candle. Now, although we've got this doji here that tells you that the investors are still uncertain, I would like to focus on this gap, because this gap was like a breakaway gap. I know there was nothing fundamentally that came out in the market. So this breakaway gap is negative, but if it can turn into a support, or if the market can close that gap, we can easily see what we call a V reversal. A V reversal can easily trigger a nice relief rally, and that is first of all out of an oversold situation. We've got that, and then we've got this let's say a little bit of a positive candle. But what's the clue? That gap is between 23 Rand 26 and 23 Rand 40. While this gap is open, the momentum is still to the downside. But if it turns around that maybe we can open above this gap or close this gap, that negativity will pass. And then people will say, listen, this is maybe an opportunity to buy for a bounce. So if I want to buy, and especially on this candle and the oversold situation, I'll buy above 23 Rand 26. My first target, of course, will be the close of this gap is 23 Rand 40. And I just want to show the viewers here where the stock can go to. That is my resistance line that is keeping the stock going lower and lower. Now that level is all the way up to, if it goes back to that line, 24 Rand 86 cents. So there's maybe a rand in the stock if it really turns around. So the bottom line is nibble there and then use a stop loss of 22 Rand 30 to protect capital, and your targets to the top will be 23 Rand 83, 24 Rand and 5 cents, 24.85. Then we're almost at the resistance of this line. Of course, if this line can turn into a support, it's a different scenario. But at the moment, I think in this market where the market really struggles to find some, almost you can say some buyers, it's maybe just wise to take maybe 50 or 70 cents or whatever the case may be, and then walk away with that. Another stock that we called a while back, and we said we think that the stock is going to go down. And I was nervous about it because I'm always nervous about a Rupert company stock, because that's company that's looked well after. But look at the stock. This is the sell-off. We saw this double top. There's the top. There's the top. We saw this double top. We actually thought that that's the you can almost say the biggest target that you can chase will be this gap. But listen what happened. I mean, this stock started to turn around. I just want to show that was the gap that we thought maybe we're lucky if it can close that. That is 121.22 and 120.63. We thought, okay, if it closes that, it's a nice call on the double top just for a nice pullback. What happened was from 134 Rand, it went down all the way down to 103 Rand at the moment. And that tells me that there were some serious sellers in Richemont. But at the moment, I want to look at this. There's a little bit of a consolidation going on here. Let's just draw a line in there. And then this is the consolidation that's keeping me now busy, because it says to me, if this consolidation can maybe carry on, it's either one of two scenarios. Either the share can go and break below this line, and that will be below 103 Rand. It can go to this magical number of about 100 Rand. But if it can break above this consolidation, and there's my level. If it breaks above 107 Rand and 40 cents, we can easily see a nice relief bounce. Now, on the other hand, when we were looking at this window there, we thought, okay, that will be the maximum. Now the same with Richemont here. There's a few gaps here. There's a tiny one, but this is the one that I'm looking at. Maybe if we're really lucky, if it starts to fly 122.89 and maybe take it up all the way to 123.45. I mean, that's 20 Rand from about 103 Rand. So it's quite a lot going up. But the big thing, the crucial thing is this consolidation. If this consolidation breaks to the downside, I would rather say sit on your hands, because although it's a top stock, we've seen during this year that top stocks gets hammered. If they disappoint, the investors comes in and they just knock them to pieces. And the big thing there is just be careful, because Richemont is, yes, a top stock, wonderful company. But at the moment, investors are not happy with the stock. I mean, they've sold it off aggressively. And let's just, for the viewers' sake, let's have a look and just see if the stock is oversold. And I think it is oversold after all this massive selling that took place. And there you are. But look what happens here. This is an important thing on a stochastic. This is oversold, yes, but it remains oversold. Now, when a stochastic consolidates there, what happens? Did you see? The share just goes lower. So that's the important thing here. Always keep in mind, a stochastic is a wonderful indicator to use for overbought or oversold. But when it starts to almost, you can say, make a flat line either at the bottom or at the top, it just shows you that the momentum in that specific direction is quite strong, and it can maybe go lower or even higher as you're almost surprised. You cannot believe it, but it does do that. So this is the consolidation. Just be careful. And well, that is the end of the first session of Talking Technical. I'm going to take a break and come back immediately.